Hello, my fellow minor league nerds, and welcome to our latest Mostly Forgotten Teams episode. In this episode, I will cover a Pacific Coast League team that played in San Francisco. I thought the Seals were pretty well remembered. Oh, this is about their other PCL team, who existed from 1926 to 1937, playing under 3 different names. Since 1903, San Francisco had been home to the very popular Seals of the Pacific Coast League. For just under 2 months in 1914, the city hosted a second team. The Sacramento Senators, who had not been drawing well because they were not a team worth supporting, according to the local fans, were moved to San Francisco on September 7th, while holding a 69-89 record. They adopted the name Mission, referencing San Francisco's Mission District, with the media dubbing them the Wolves, named after their manager, Harry Wolverton. While in San Francisco, they were a team without a permanent ballpark, splitting their home games between Ewing Field, home of the Seals, and Oaks Park, home of the Oakland Oaks. They went 21-32 the rest of the season, ending in 5th place in the 6-team league with a 90-121 record. After the 1914 season, they were sold to Bill Lane of Salt Lake City, who moved them there, renaming them the Salt Lake Bees. The team that is the subject of this episode began in 1909 as the Vernon Tigers, after the PCL expanded from 4 to 6 teams. We covered the Tigers in a previous Mostly Forgotten Teams episode that you should check out if you haven't already. Though their name suggested they represented Vernon, California, a small town just south of downtown Los Angeles, they spent most of their time playing at Washington Park, home of the Los Angeles Angels, also of the Pacific Coast League. The Tigers were basically a second-class team in this city behind the more popular Angels, though they did win 2 PCL titles in 1919 and 1920. Many factors worked against the team being a success in the Los Angeles area, seeing them losing money most years. Team owner Eddie Meyer could no longer continue taking the losses, so in November 1925, he put the team up for sale. In January 1926, they were purchased by Stanley Dollar, a San Francisco shipping magnate, who wanted to establish a second team in the city, as well as William McCarthy, the former president of the Pacific Coast League, who became the new president of the club, with them paying $250,000 for the team. The two received approval from the PCL to move the team to San Francisco, with many fans simply calling them the Missions. The new owners immediately faced problems. The Oakland Oaks demanded an indemnity to allow the team to encroach upon its territory and for baseball to be played continuously in San Francisco. Eventually, it was agreed to pay them $140,000. $40,000 was paid by William Wrigley, owner of the Los Angeles Angels, with the San Francisco Seals paying $25,000. $15,000 was paid by the Missions, with the other 4 clubs, along with the league, paying $60,000 over a 6-year period. Once this was agreed upon, the team was cleared to move. The new owners faced another issue over the team's name. McCarthy announced that they would be called the Mission Bears, with them wearing blue and gold trim uniforms, with a bear emblem on the front. The only issue was that the University of California at Berkeley, which is across the bay from San Francisco, had long identified as the Golden Bears, using the exact same colors, and considered the logo its property. The university intended to file a lawsuit against the club, forcing them to drop the bear logo. During that first season, the issue simmered until McCarthy finally agreed to pay a small settlement fee and changed the club's name for the 1927 season, when they became the Mission Bells. With the Tigers moving north, the Salt Lake Bees, who were the Mission Wolves back in 1914, moved to Los Angeles, becoming the Hollywood Stars, or Sheiks. Upon moving to San Francisco, the Mission settled into Recreation Park, which was the home of the Seals. It was a western version of Philadelphia's Baker Bowl, home of the Phillies, which was known for its unique dimensions. Vernon's last season was terrible, with them finishing in last place with an 80 and 120 record. But the Bears were a much improved club in that first season, finishing in third place with a 106 and 94 record. Their level of play was improved by the addition of pitcher Bert Cole, a San Francisco native, and outfielder Ike Boone. Cole spent the 1925 season with Cleveland and Detroit in the American League, finishing 3-4 after appearing in 27 games. He went 29-12 for the Missions, the best single-season record any pitcher would have for the franchise. Ike Boone spent 1925 with the Boston Red Sox. With the Missions, he hit .380 with 32 homers, 137 RBIs, 55 doubles, and 3 triples in 172 games. Other key signings by the team were second baseman Neil Finn, shortstop Gordon Slade, and center fielder Ever Swanson, who helped the Missions pace the PCL in team hitting that season. Another key pitcher that was signed was Herman Old Folks Pillette, who went 21-16. In that first season, the Bears went through 3 different managers. Walter McCready, who was nicknamed Judge, was hired to be their first manager. He had a 21-year baseball career, 12 of which were with Portland of the PCL. He also managed them for 16 seasons. He was in declining health when he took the job, giving up the post in the middle of May after leading them to a 16-19 record. One of his coaches, Butch Schmidt, took over the team, leading them to a 48-45 record, with Wild Bill Laird, veteran of the PCL, taking over on August 13th. He had been out of baseball since the 1923 season. Under Laird, the team went 41-28. McCarthy brought Wild Bill back for the 1927 season. As the manager of the Missions, he had little or no respect for the team, and pretty much everyone else. He was fired 2 weeks into the season on April 14th, while the team was in Seattle. McCarthy fired him for conduct unbecoming of a manager and for violating the training rules of the team. He had missed a game in Seattle and then showed up so drunk the next day that his players locked him in the clubhouse. The firing came so suddenly that McCarthy had no thoughts on a replacement, with catcher Roxy Walters being promoted to the role of temporary manager while McCarthy searched for a suitable replacement. On May 1st, it was announced that former major leaguer Harry Hooper, who had been out of baseball since 1925, was hired to be player manager, appearing in 78 games that season. He had a 17-year major league career with the Boston Red Sox and Chicago White Sox, winning 4 World Series titles with Boston. He was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1971. The team was in 5th place with a 16-17 record when he took over, with them finishing in 7th with an 86-110 record. They were hurt by the loss of Ike Boone and Bert Cole, who were both with the White Sox that season. Hooper was fired after the season, even though he still had a year left on his contract. He was replaced by former player Red Killefer in January 1928. He had previously managed Los Angeles and Seattle in the PCL, leading them to titles in 1921 and 1924 respectively. He would lead the team for 3 seasons. In that 1928 season, the PCL went with a split-season format, with the Bells finishing the first half in 4th place with a 49-43 record, and the second half in 5th place with a 50-49 record, for an overall record of 99-92. As a team, they hit .301, with 5 players hitting over .340. They included Fuzzy Huft, who hit .379, Ping Bodie, who hit .352, Ever Swanson, who hit .346, and Wes Griffin, who hit .343. In July, Ike Boone was brought back by a trade with Portland, with him hitting .407 in 72 games with the Bells. Huft came to the Bells by a trade with Seattle. He was a natural fit for Recreation Park, which was only .235 down the right field line, with a 50-foot-high chicken wire fence. His uppercut swing was perfect for the park. He stayed with the team until June 1931, hitting .367 with 107 home runs during that time. His weak arm kept him from ever making it into the majors. He was such a poor fielder that Killefor once benched him for several games in 1929 after a costly error, even though he was hitting .365 at the time. The team's pitching was improved with Herm Paulette and Carl Holing being consistent on the mound, each with ERAs below 4. Another top pitcher who played for the Bells that season was Ernie Nevers. He was an All-American football player with Stanford and later played in the NFL for the Duluth Eskimos and Chicago Cardinals. He is a member of both the College Football and Pro Football Hall of Fames. He played 3 seasons for the St. Louis Browns before joining the Bells. He went 14-11 with a 4.37 ERA in 1928, returning in 1929, going 7-8 with a 4.56 ERA. After the season, he retired from baseball to focus on his football career. Late in the season, the Bells added 22-year-old right-hander Clyde Nance from Seattle. He went 7-1 during the last 5 weeks of the season, including 2 shutouts and 8 consecutive complete games. His career was just taking off when he was tragically killed in an automobile accident on March 31, 1929. The day after the 1928 season ended, team president William McCarthy resigned, with Red Killefer being promoted to the position a few weeks later. He continued to serve as the team's manager. He now had the authority to make deals, which he felt was necessary to improve the team and make them more competitive in the league. He was very active in that offseason. He purchased third baseman Eddie Mulligan from Dallas in the Texas League, outfielder Pete Scott from the Pittsburgh Pirates, and first baseman Jack Sherlock from the Detroit Tigers. Chili McDaniel, who played first for Mission in 1927 and 1928, was traded to Seattle for pitcher Bert Cole and catcher Fred Hoffman. Other key acquisitions included pitcher Dutch Ruther, who played 11 seasons in the majors with the Cubs, Reds, Dodgers, Senators, and Yankees. In 1927, he played for the San Francisco Seals, being released after the season. Ever Swanson was sent to Cincinnati for Walter Cuckoo Christensen, who had a bit of a zany streak in him. He had a habit of turning cartwheels in the outfield after making a good catch. During one game with the Missions, he decided to pull off a cartwheel on a routine fly ball before catching the ball, with 2 runners on base. The ball went over his head, with both runners scoring, causing the Missions to lose the game. Red Killefer had to be restrained from attacking him. Another move Killefer made was to rename the ball club. He had never been a fan of the name Mission Bells, a name most fans never used anyway. He rechristened them the Mission Reds, not the first team to be named after a manager or team president. With all the new additions, the Reds became strong favorites to win the league pennant in 1929. They started off slow, with them going on a 9-game winning streak, taking over first on April 25th. Come Memorial Day, they were 8 games up. Their hitting was spectacular, with them holding a .330 team average. They continued to dominate the league, playing so strongly that the other owners feared they would run away with the pennant, thus killing the league's attendance. This led to the league to decide to split the season, with the first half ending on July 1st. The Reds won that half with a 60-33 record, 4 games up on the San Francisco Seals. The second half was a battle between the Reds and the Hollywood Stars, with it all coming down to the last game of the season. At the start of the day, the Reds were 1 game behind the Stars, with all PCL teams playing doubleheaders to end their seasons. The Stars lost both games to Portland 4-1 and 9-2, with the Reds also losing both games to last place Seattle 7-3 and 9-1, giving Hollywood the second half title, setting up a 7-game league championship series between the two. The Reds ended with an overall record of 123 and 78. Going into the championship series, the Reds were favored to win. They took the first 2 games 7-2 and 8-6 before losing the next 4 in a row, giving the Hollywood Stars the PCL title. The Reds' power hitters just didn't deliver during the series. The 1929 team was one of the best in league history. They batted .319 as a team, scoring an average of over 6 runs per game. All but one regular starter hit over 300. Outfielder Ike Boone hit .407 with 55 homers and 218 RBIs, winning the Triple Crown. Outfielder Fuzzy Huft hit .379 with 39 homers and 187 RBIs. Second baseman Neil Finn hit .347 with 32 stolen bases, while first baseman Jack Sherlock hit .336 and drove in 156. Catcher Fred Hoffman hit .330. Outfielder Walter Christensen hit .319. Shortstop Gordon Slate hit .302 while driving in 115. Third baseman Eddie Mulligan was the only regular to hit under 300 when he ended with a .279 average. The team's pitching staff was led by Bert Cole, who went 24-12 with a 3.45 ERA in 42 starts, and Old Folks Paulette, who went 23-13 with a 3.59 ERA in 41 starts. Both pitchers' ERAs were below the league's average of 4.5 runs per game. Their starting staff was rounded out by Mert Nelson, who went 17-10 with a 4.81 ERA, and Dutch Ruther, who went 14-9 with a 4.72 ERA. Undoubtedly, the loss of Clyde Nance affected their pitching that season. This was the high water mark for the franchise, the closest they ever came to winning a PCL title. A few weeks after the end of the season, the stock market crashed, sparking the Great Depression. The world of baseball was not immune to the crisis, with it hitting the Missions pretty hard. Ike Boone returned with the goal of outdoing his 1929 season. By June 1st, he was on pace to do so, hitting .467, slipping slightly during the next 3 weeks. But the team struggled financially and needed an influx of cash. He was sold to Brooklyn, bringing back $40,000. At that time, he was hitting .448 with 96 RBIs and 22 homers. He very well could have broken several PCL records if he had stayed with the team. Harry Rosenberg, Fuzzy Huft, second baseman John Monroe, and first baseman George Burns picked up the slack, all hitting over .349. But the team's pitching was weak, with all regular starters having ERAs well over 4. The team also sold second baseman Mickey Finn and shortstop Gordon Slade to Brooklyn for a much-needed $50,000. Combine that with the decline of Bert Cole, who was weakened after a bout of pneumonia, and the team suffered greatly. Fans did not turn out like they did in 1929, when they drew 275,996, with only 139,768 coming out in 1930. The Reds never again drew anywhere near 200,000. They finished the season in 7th place with a 91-111 record, going 48-52 in the first half and 43-59 in the second. Terrible things continued to happen to the Reds. In December, their manager and team president, Red Killefer, was struck ill, needing emergency surgery. He improved thanks to treatment, feeling well enough to participate in spring training, where he suffered a relapse, leaving the club on April 16th. He returned to managing in the American Association in 1933. Losing him created a giant hole that was felt both on and off the field. Joe Beanwald was elected as the team's new president, with first baseman George Burns being promoted to manager. He was a 16-year AL veteran, playing for Detroit, Philadelphia, Cleveland, Boston, and New York. He did a decent job, leading the team to a 45-47 record in the first half of another split season. He was replaced by Joe Devine, a successful scout who joined the team in that role at the end of June. Burns thought Devine was after his job and asked for and received his release from the club. Under Devine, the team started the second half in last place, staying there the entire half, ending with a 39-56 record, going 84-103 overall. For that season, the Reds moved into brand new Seals Stadium, sharing the ballpark with the San Francisco Seals. It was a concrete and steel stadium, which boasted numerous amenities, including 3 clubhouses, one for the Seals, one for visitors and one for the Missions. Part of the agreement that allowed the Missions to move to San Francisco back in 1926 was that they would always play in the ballpark, which was controlled by the Seals, never being allowed to build their own. The change of ballparks helped contribute to the decline of the team's offense, which had been one of the best in the league, becoming one of the worst. Recreation Park was small, with Seals Stadium being extremely large in comparison. It was 365 feet down the left field line, 404 to dead center, and 385 to right field. Its power alleys were as deep as 424 feet in right center, and the fence around the outfield was 20 feet high. The team's days of power hitting were over. In 1930, they hit 98 homers at Recreation Park. In 1932, they only hit 11 at Seals Stadium, with a few being inside the park. Their attendance rose to 162,914 that season. But that can easily be chalked up to the fact that San Francisco had a new ballpark, and night baseball was played in the city for the first time. Any increased revenue they saw that season was offset by the much higher rent that they had to pay to the Seals. The franchise needed to regroup and find a new strategy in order to survive. No longer able to sign expensive, experienced veterans, they began focusing on younger, cheaper, inexperienced players from the Bay Area. With Devine being a good judge of talent, he is credited for signing Joe DiMaggio to the Yankees. He was able to sign several great young players that were developed by the Reds before being sold to major league clubs for a considerable profit. That flow of cash helped sustain the team during the severe economic conditions of the next 3 seasons, which saw their attendance continue to fall. One of the last moves made by Killefer before his illness was purchasing left-hander Ox Eckert from the Detroit Tigers. He turned into the heart of the Reds' offense during the next 4 seasons. Standing 6'1" and weighing 200 pounds, he was a former football star with the University of Texas. Surprisingly, he wasn't a power hitter and rarely pulled the ball. Instead, he sliced it to left field most of the time, seeing many teams shifting their outfielders in that direction. It was not uncommon to see right fielders catching his fly balls in left center. In spite of his size, he had great speed, frequently turning infield grounders into base hits. In his 5 seasons with the Reds, he hit double-digit triples every season. In 1931, he hit .369, winning his first of 3 straight PCL batting titles, while leading the team with 117 RBIs. He started the 1932 season with the Boston Braves, but found himself back with Mission, hitting .371, and then hit .414 in 1933, driving in 143 RBIs. Eckert was pretty much all Missions fans had to cheer about in those years, with them finishing last in 1932 with a 71-117 record, and 7th in 1933 with a 79-108 record. The PCL did not play with a split season in either year. He had a 14-season professional career, but only appeared in 24 games for Brooklyn and Boston in the National League, hitting .192 in 57 plate appearances. Catcher Fred Hoffman led the team in 1933, being replaced by former Major League player and manager Gabby Street in 1934. He had a very good team, the best since the Reds moved into Seals Stadium. Ox Eckert, Bud Haffey, and Lou Almeida patrolled the outfield and each hit better than .320. First baseman Babe Dahlgren was one of the best in the league, both with the bat and his glove. Their pitching staff was led by 43-year-old Clarence Mitchell, who went 19-12 with a 3.66 ERA. Dutch Lieber went 19-13 with a 2.5 ERA, and Hollis Thurston went 15-10 with a 3.21 ERA. Johnny Babich went 10-3 with an incredible 2.03 ERA before being sold to Brooklyn in July. The Reds went 101-85 overall that season. The Pacific Coast League did not intend on playing a split season that year, but the Los Angeles Angels started the season so dominant that the clubs voted to split it, with the first half ending on June 24th. The Angels were an incredible 66-18, 18 games up on the 48-37 second-place Reds. The Angels once again dominated the second half, ending with a 71-32 record, 12 games up on the second-place Hollywood Stars. The Reds finished in third with a 53-48 record, going 97-88 overall. The Angels finished with an overall record of 137-50. We plan on covering their 1934 season later this year. 1934 was probably the worst year of the Depression in San Francisco. On top of that, a Teamsters strike in the city that lasted 2 weeks in July virtually shut down San Francisco. Even with a respectable season, the Reds only drew 90,719. Street returned to lead the team in 1935. They were strapped for cash that season. The team's regulars, which consisted of Roy Mort at first, Al Wright at second, Eddie Joost at third, Clyde Beck at short, with Ox Eckerd, Lou Almeida, and Fred Berger in the outfield, pretty much had to play every day as there was no money for backup players. Berger was the younger brother of major leaguer Wally Berger. Fred began the season with Seattle, coming over to the Missions in April. He hit 23 homers that season, the most hit by a member of the team since they moved into Seals Park. In May, they suffered a 13-game losing streak and finished the first half in last place with a 28-43 record. The second half was much better, seeing them contend for the second half title, ending in second place with a 59-44 record, 3.5 games behind the Seals. They actually held first place on August 25th after splitting a doubleheader in Portland, but their pitching staff was overworked and unable to sustain the pace. That season, San Francisco was the center of the league batting title, which was fought between Ox Eckerd and Joe DiMaggio of the Seals. Eckerd had an amazing first half, hitting .422 on June 1st, with DiMaggio eventually catching him. They were neck and neck through most of August and September. On the last day of the season, DiMaggio hit a fly ball that should have been caught by center fielder Bill Lawrence, that fell in for a double due to Lawrence clowning around. The future Yankee Clipper immediately motioned to the game scorer that it should be an error, not a hit. Later he said that he did not want to win the title on a play like that. Eckerd took the title, hitting .399 to DiMaggio's .398. Gabby Street had a contract to return to Mission in 1936, but at the winter meetings, he stated that he wanted a job closer to his home in Missouri and threatened to retire. The team had no choice but to let him out of his contract, with him eventually signing to lead the St. Paul Saints in the American Association. Willie Cam was signed to replace him, managing the team for the next 2 seasons. He had previously played in San Francisco for the Seals from 1919 to 1922, before playing 13 seasons in the majors for the Chicago White Sox and Cleveland Indians. Being from San Francisco made him a popular choice with the team's fans. He had more talent to work with, thanks to Sacramento being in financial distress, leading them to sell off many of their players at bargain prices. The Reds added 19-year-old outfielder Max West and reacquired Harry Rosenberg, who played for the team in 1930. West hit .307, with Rosenberg and the returning Bill Outen each hitting .334. Cam led them to a 5th-place finish, tying the Los Angeles Angels with an 88-88 record. The PCL did not split the season that year. As a team, they only hit 24 homers, with only 2 being hit out of Seal Stadium. Before the start of that season, the Hollywood Stars moved to San Diego, becoming the Padres. Late in the season, rumors began that the Mission Reds may be heading south to replace them in Los Angeles. Their attendance had increased to 113,394 that season, but it was nowhere near enough to make them viable in the league. With Cam still at the helm, 1937 was not a good year. They landed in last place during the first week of the season and pretty much stayed there. From July on, they were just playing out the rest of the season. They finished last with a 73-105 record, 29 games behind the pennant-winning Sacramento Solons. Harry Rosenberg, Max West, and catcher Bill Outen all had great seasons once again, hitting .316 or better. They ended the season at home, sweeping a doubleheader from the San Diego Padres, winning 5-2 and 5-4. They would be the Mission Reds' last games, as it was announced on October 28th that the team was moving south to Hollywood, where they would become the second incarnation of the Hollywood Stars. Manager Willie Cam did not join them. They shared Wrigley Field with the Los Angeles Angels for their first season, eventually moving into Gilmore Field in 1939. They played there through the 1957 season, relocating to Salt Lake City after the Dodgers moved to Los Angeles. They played as the Salt Lake Bees through the 1965 season, moving to Tacoma for the 1966 season. There they would play under many different names, becoming the Rainiers in 1995, still playing under that name to this day. Well, my fellow minor league nerds, that does it for this episode. Thanks for nerding out with me. If you could, please leave a rating on the podcast platform of your choice, or give a like to the YouTube video. We would greatly appreciate it. And until next time, stay safe, and be sure to never stop supporting minor league baseball and never stop learning about minor league baseball history.
This podcast is part of the Curved Brim Media Network. Here are some of the other members of Curved Brim Media.
Hi, this is Ed Rivera of the Data Chronicles. Join me as I interview people just like you and players, coaches, GMs on the path that led you to become a fan of the sport.
I'm Paul Caputo, and on the Baseball by Design podcast, I talk to minor league baseball teams, designers, and other super interesting people about what these minor league baseball logos mean, and I talk a little bit about ice cream helmets.
What's up, Bucketheads? I'm Anna DiTommaso, and each week on the Baseball Bucket List podcast, I speak with a different fan about their favorite baseball memories, what the game means to them, and what's left to check off on their baseball bucket list.
Hey everyone, it's Eric from the great state of Kansas.
This is Johnny from the New Orleans Baby Cakes Memorial Museum.
And we are the Earn Fun Average podcast,
where we talk to a variety of guests about their love of baseball and have fun doing it.
America, lower your standards.
Average is what we do best.
This is Patrick
and Corey
of BaseballMapper.com, and we have made an interactive map to help highlight all baseball teams from the majors down to collegiate summer leagues.
We want to bring you closer to baseball, so get on the site and find a team near you today.
Hey guys, this is Patrick Larson from the Minor League Baseball Hat History Series, and in every episode I go through the history of minor league teams through my personal collection of hats. You can find me on Twitter at @PatLarson1. I hope you guys enjoy.
Learn more about Curved Brim Media at curvedbrimmedia.com.